Hi guys. I wanted to just put this here. I want to do a video on what true embodiment actually means in regards to sensuality. So this has been common, that's come up, and I love to do lives and videos around common themes, because if one person's feeling it, most likely other people can benefit. So whether you're watching now or later, I hope that you will benefit from this video and what I have noticed as a therapist and also a mentor for other therapists and way showers and healers in assisting not only themselves, but other people that they're working with and that they're serving. So it's my personal practice and also my understanding that part of the reason that we're here right now is to be more embodied, not less embodied. So it's one thing to be able to access all sorts of galactic and multidimensional fields, and all of that is amazing, which I also do in my insight sessions, but that is not as helpful if you cannot ground it. And actually one of the people that I've been listening to that's been really helpful on my journey, her name is Sandra Walters. Really want to give her a shout out. If you don't know who she is, look her up. Sandra Walters has an amazing webinar called Embodiment. It's called an Embodiment webinar. It's on her YouTube channel. So that's just another side tool that you can access. But it's my understanding, and I resonate with this in my body, that we cannot fully step into helping other people navigate right now if we cannot bridge the worlds. So if you're completely out there and picking up on multidimensional things, that's amazing, that's beautiful, but how can you make it relevant for not only yourself, but the people that you're helping? Because we are in our bodies, and we're in our bodies for a reason right now. And so our bodies hold the subconscious. They hold all of the patterns and all of our stories from, if you believe in past life, that's great. Bring that forward into the discussion, or not. Even if you don't, we have genetics that have been passed down to us. We hold them in our DNA, in our structure, and they're not often in our conscious awareness. So our consciousness we use about this much of our brain. So I don't know, I can't really give you like an actual number there. I forgot the actual number, but we only use maybe like 7% of our brain. And that's our conscious awareness of what we're consciously aware of. All the other, whatever, 93% of our brain is the subconscious, and it holds all of the information that we have ever experienced. And that resides in our body. And a lot of times that's why things like muscle testing, the emotion code, things like that can validate a little bit more of that we store things in our body. So I'm giving you a little bit of background of why it's so important to acknowledge that we have to be embodied right now. Meaning we have to be able to ground what we are pulling through. If you're pulling through information that you feel like is from, I don't know, like your star family, or if you want to say your intuition, if you want to say, like for myself, I believe that I pull information from the inner library at the center of the earth. That's a big crystal. You know, that's what resonates with me. But if I'm not able to actually bring it forward, it doesn't do us any good. It's just kind of like a medicine journey. You know, if you do a medicine journey and you don't integrate it, it actually isn't really helpful. So, a lot of times here's all the ways that I've kind of identified that we avoid being embodied. Now, first of all, before I go into that, why would we avoid being in our bodies? Lots of reasons. Here's one reason that's pretty common. Our bodies feel pain. Our bodies hold emotions. Oh, I almost disconnected. I hope I'm still alive. Yeah, I almost disconnected. I must have really bad service. So the reasons we don't want to be in our bodies is in some way we may believe that our bodies have betrayed us. Maybe we've been through trauma. Maybe we've had really painful experiences. Whatever that might be, it's okay. And there are reasons that we don't want to fully feel in our bodies. It's not super fun, especially if you believe that you are a large soul. You have to squish yourself down into this dense physical form. It's not very comfortable. So another way that we avoid being embodied is making excuses for why we can't create, making excuses for why we can't sing and dance and play and paint and do that project that you've always wanted to do, or maybe even why you haven't done that thing in your body. Maybe it's even like a physical thing, why you haven't done the workout routine. We make all of these excuses for why we can't fully show up in our bodies. So embodiment can be avoided on many levels. Another way we do that is we overplan and we overthink. So that is not co-creating with the universe. So my opinion is that embodiment and sensuality together both require us to be co-creative with the universe, meaning that we let go of trying to control everything. So being co-creative, not only in a partnership, whether it's business or romantic, we are always in co-creation with the universe, with the divine. Whether we want to admit that to ourselves or not, we are. And so maybe a question you could ask yourself is, am I taking up too much room with all of my agendas and my planning and wanting things to be a certain way, that I'm not letting co-creation happen, which is actually very sensual, actually very embodied, to go with the flow, to start to feel your other senses instead of logically planning everything out. So being embodied means that you're willing to use something more than just logic to hopefully I didn't lose you again. It looks like maybe I might have. Sorry about my connection. So keep that in mind, that sensuality and embodiment require us to step back and not have an agenda and allow co-creation with the universe. Not going outside. I just wrote a few notes, so I'm kind of looking at them. Not going outside, feeling the vibration of the earth. That's also one way that people are not allowing themselves to be embodied. You can't really fully be embodied if you're just looking at a screen all day. You just can't. Not speaking your truth also. So I'm gonna link this into the senses here in a minute, but not speaking your truth is actually another way that we avoid being embodied. So the throat, obviously it's speaking, is one way that we can be seen, which is another sense, right, by others. And also it's a way to witness ourselves. And when we speak out loud, we hear ourselves back, which is another sense. So we're engaging all of the senses when we speak our truth. And it's a way to witness ourselves as well as have others witness us as well. So getting all of the senses on board is important. So again, let me tell you a little bit about the senses. So there's not just 5, there's actually 7. So sight, hearing, smell, taste, touch, and then there's vestibular, which is movement. It's the ability to feel, it's what helps us sit and learn to walk and to stand. It's like feeling our body in space. And then there's also proprioception. So this is the 7th one. Which is like body position, how much force to use, so when you're cracking an egg, that you know how much force to use so that you don't just let the egg just go everywhere. That's proprioception. That, to me, knowing where your limbs are in space and in relation to one another, that's also proprioception. Okay, so there's actually 7 senses. And if we can get to know each one of them a little bit, that's sensuality. That's being sensual. That's being embodied. Our emotions are also related to sensation in the body. So it's feeling our emotions at a deeper level. It's allowing them to have that vibration in the body and letting it come up and go instead of holding on to it, because that's how emotions work, is they actually only last for 7 seconds if you don't attach a story to it. And that's how emotions work. It's just like a wave. So it's being willing to allow ourselves to live fully and feel fully and allow ourselves to go to those depths. Intuition, that's another one. So intuition is not a sense, but it's not necessarily related to the senses, but it is something that I like to bring into the conversation of intuition is part of embodiment, and it's also part of sensuality, because it can be, a lot of people consider it another sense. The reason it's different is because you can't measure it. There's no tool that I know of that science would back, if you will, that can actually measure intuition like it can measure sight, sound, taste, all the other senses. But intuition is our access to our authentic self. It's our deeper knowing of our own truth, which can't be measured. And this is why intuition is such a huge part of being in your body, because you'll start to know what it feels like to be inspired by your intuition, and knowing that you are responding and acting from that versus responding and acting from fear or from ego or some other sense. So, and that includes the mind. So the mind has stories, it spins stories, and if we act from those stories, then we're not necessarily acting from intuition. So that's important to kind of have in the conversation. So one thing that I would invite you to do is to take maybe 5 minutes out of your day, go outside, lay on the grass if you have access to grass, but do something outside for 5 minutes and just go through each sense. Notice what you're seeing with these eyes, and maybe this eye as well, the third eye, if that feels okay for you. Just start to notice I didn't lose you again. Okay. Notice what you hear. Notice what you taste. Notice what your skin feels like and the temperature of your skin. And go through all of the senses. You might even go through the proprioception, which is kind of like where your limbs are in space, or like what it feels like to sit up and balance or stand, which is, you can do some yoga and play with that. Vestibular, movement, that's also one of the senses you could work with. But that's being sensual. That's being willing to be fully present. And if you do start to get intuitive information from that, I call that a sense. I count that as a sense. If you do start to get information from that intuitive sense, I would invite you to play with how to ground it. How do you make that something you can tangibly step into? How can you be seen more? How can you speak your truth? How can you listen more? That's a big one. That's another one that people often don't think of, is if you overtalk, do you overshare? Do you overtalk? Are you always thinking about what you're going to say next in a conversation? Are you truly listening? And are you listening with the ears of the heart, seeing through the eyes of the heart? So that's a big one that I think people don't, allow as much. So focusing on that, and come back to, how can I ground my intuition that is my truth, that I don't have to prove anything to anyone about, but how can I fully be in alignment with that in a tangible way? Not just a way that I get to keep to myself and not share, but how can I step forward and be seen in that? And I think that's really important for a lot of us right now, especially those of us that feel inspired to be leaders. And I don't really even like that word, so scratch that if that triggered you, I guess. But if you feel that you are here to inspire others to step into their leadership, to step into their highest version of themselves, that's what we're here to do. We're here to be clear mirrors, clear witnesses for one another, so that I can tell you, I see your highest self, I see you fully, and I also receive witnessing in my highest self as well. So we're here to help each other remember, and we're all in it together. please reach out to me if you have questions. I'd love to connect with you. Little invitation here. My beautiful friend Fallon and I are doing an embodiment, sensual leadership embodied one-day immersion. And so I will be putting that in the links in the comments. So if you're interested in connecting with us, it's going to be just beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful experience. So hopefully you can join us, and just DM me if you would like to connect more, if you have any questions about anything. Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thanks for witnessing, guys.